What's up, guys? Rajan Nanavati here with HailToTheDistrict.com, and I'm recording this video amidst the more free agent news coming on the heels of the start of NFL free agency, which is actually, I think, Wednesday at 4 p.m., but the legal tampering period starts tomorrow being Monday. I'm recording this on a Sunday, tomorrow at noon Eastern time. So, again, on the heels of that news, we found out today that the Redskins placed the franchise tag on offensive lineman, offensive guard Brandon Scherff, which, for anyone who's been paying attention, this really shouldn't come as much as a surprise. The Redskins have had every intention of trying to re-sign him to a long-term deal, but recognizing the complications around that, or recognizing how much money he could potentially command on the open market, especially given he's probably the best player available at his position, it's not really that surprising that they placed a tag on him to give themselves more time to hammer out said long-term deal for him to remain in Washington. One thing that's noteworthy about this is that, according to everything I've seen, this is the first time in 9 years that an NFL team has placed the franchise tag on an interior offensive lineman. In fact, everything I've read suggests that the last time a team used the franchise tag on an offensive guard was when the New England Patriots tried to keep Logan Mankins out of the free agent market. Now, I don't think it's really that newsworthy in general. I think, again, that the main premise of this tag is for the Redskins to try to give themselves more time to hammer out a deal with Scherff, but I think it just goes to show the fact that the Redskins have to use this tag as a placeholder, considering the average annual value of a contract for somebody like Scherff is going to be in the neighborhood of approximately $15 million, which is what the franchise tag effectively earmarks him for under the salary cap. From a comparison perspective, I think you have to look at a few deals, because at the end of the day, Scherff is going to try to go out and get the most money, or Scherff's agent, I should say, is going to try to go out and get the most money for him that he possibly can, whether that's in Washington or whether that's with another team. All things considered, from everything you read, Scherff wants to stay in town and the Redskins want to keep him. I don't think the Redskins are in a position that they want to lose Trent Williams and Scherff in the same free agent period, because that would be pretty damn devastating for an offensive line that already has a few question marks and already has offensive guard Ereck Flowers as a free agent right now. And I can't believe we're in a position at this day and age where we're equally as dependent on trying to bring back Ereck Flowers as we are Brandon Scherff, but I think we are in that situation. But going back to the comparison perspective, so you have to look at the comps for some of the best players of the position, and most notably some of the most recent free agents of the position, and the kind of money that those guys generated, and kind of slot where Scherff is probably going to end up as a result of that, right? So in 2017, Gabe Jackson, who at the time signed with the Oakland Raiders, was considered to be the best available player at his position, or the best available free agent at the time. His average salary ended up being about $11 million a year. Now, I think that's going to go up significantly considering inflation and all that fun stuff. So let's look at over the next few years. Zach Martin, who most people will probably agree is one of the best, if not the best, interior offensive lineman in the NFL, even though he plays for the goddamn Dallas Cowboys. His average salary is about $14 million a year for his deal that he signed in 2018. Andrew Norwell, who was playing for the Carolina Panthers at the time, he was an All-Pro that year. His average salary when he signed with the Jacksonville Jaguars was about $13.3 million per year. The following year, if you look at contracts signed in 2019, Brandon Brooks re-upped with the Philadelphia Eagles at about just over $14 million a year. So when you factor all of those things, I think at the minimum, Scherff is going to command $14 million a year, obviously with the average annual value of that contract going up year over year. So when you consider that the Redskins are earmarking him at $15 million a year, that makes a ton of sense, and that's probably where he's going to end up. So for the sake of argument, let's just say, to make things easy and to kind of split the difference between the 14 million-ish that every player I just referenced a couple seconds ago was making, the $15 million that Scherff would make on the franchise tag. We'll split the difference, as I mentioned, call it kind of 14.5, right? That's going to knock off about 14.5 million, hypothetically again, off of the 47 and change million that the Redskins have under the salary cap right now. I think at the end of the day, as I mentioned, Scherff coming back it's going to happen. I mean, regardless, he's going to be playing this year. It's going to happen on the franchise tag. But I think at the end of the day, they're going to be able to hammer out a long-term deal before the start of the season. So then you have to start looking at what's the Redskins' remaining salary cap situation. That's going to put them right around $32 million, which, again, sounds like a lot of money, but they have a bunch of guys that need to figure out what they're going to do in terms of bringing them back. namely Eric Flowers, to start off with if we want to make sure that we can maintain some type of integrity or continuity along the offensive line. And then we obviously have a bunch of holes to plug in free agency, considering we're a 3-13 team that has the second pick in the NFL draft. And, Chase Young, God willing that he comes here, it can only solve so many problems. But it's nice to see that there's a long-term plan, or at least a short-term plan with the potential of a long-term plan in place for Scherff. Let me know what you guys think about the re-signing, or at least the earmarking him to come back for another year. What type of money would you commit to him? Would you try to trade him for more draft picks? I would not. I think that's a terrible idea, but hey, I might be in the minority. But thank you again for all of you who made it this far. Look forward to making more videos, and once again, hail to the Redskins.